what's the biggest thing you've learned about yourself by being a father?
Kobe begins by explaining how becoming a father completely reshaped his priorities. It's a deeply personal reflection on why raising children became the driving force behind everything he creates.
It's amazing. Like when you become a parent, things become much more, life becomes, it lines things up for you a little differently, right? Like before you have kids, me and my wife, we can travel anytime, there's work and, you become you have a very clear focus. But when you have children, it becomes about them. It's not about you guys anymore, right? And so that shift, it's a big one. It's one of kind of a selfishness together, and then to being absolutely selfless and doing anything you can for your kids. And so what I'm trying to do is create content to teach them first and foremost. That's why I started this whole thing, is just reading stories to them that I felt like didn't exist. Our kids are athletes, and they love reading about princesses and all these fairy tales. And, they get a little sick and tired about the man saving the princess every time. And, the same old stuff, magical wands and all that. My kids are athletes, man. They want to learn about soccer balls and basketballs and volleyballs and, magic that comes from that.
The conversation then shifts from sports to parenting, where Kobe argues that many adults are accidentally raising children to become dependent instead of independent thinkers.
Sports is the greatest metaphor we have in terms of dealing with life. Because, even if you listen to music will give you guidance, right? That you can then meditate on and think about how you would apply it. In sports, you have to apply it in the here and now. I mean, you're faced with challenges moment to moment. You're faced with pressures and anxiety and communication or the lack thereof and all this other stuff. Like, it's in the moment. So you have to live it. And when you practice those things, you become better at it. But I just feel like in this day and age, our children have become less imaginative about how to problem solve, and parents and coaches have become more directive in trying to mandate or give orders or teach kids how to think and teach kids how to behave and tell them how to behave versus teaching them how to behave. And so that's why I'm creating these stories.
This may be the most powerful parenting lesson in the entire interview. Kobe shares the single sentence his father told him that shaped his confidence for the rest of his life and explains why every child needs to hear it.
You've talked about this before, where your father said to you, like, whether you score 0 or 60, like, I love you.
Yeah.
Tell me what that statement meant to you at that time, and how did it actually motivate you to continue scoring 60 rather than go, oh, I'm all right at 0?
Well, it did more than that, right? So like the basketball stuff speaks for itself in terms of what that comment did for me, in terms of giving me stability and giving me confidence to say, okay, it's okay to fail because you're going to be loved no matter what. And that doesn't just mean basketball. That means anything in life. That means writing. That means being an entrepreneur. That means having the confidence to go for it. And I've seen too many parents do the exact opposite. And it terrifies children. And children become paralyzed by their own fear because they don't have that security blanket of love and comfort.
Later in the interview, Kobe reveals a surprising statistic about youth sports and why he believes adults, not children, are often the real problem.
We're looking at 62% of young children are dropping out of sports, 62%. And they cite the fact that it's not fun anymore. Well, what does that tell them? I mean, that's telling us as grown-ups are getting in the way. Get out the way. Let these kids be imaginative, which, like in our stories, it's important that, there's a fantasy nature to it, right? But it's rooted in reality, right? When we have fire-breathing winged horses and things of that nature, those are actual drills that are taking place. We don't have fire-breathing winged horses actually performing that, but we do have ball machines that are spitting balls at tennis players, right? And so all of our stories are all anchored in an element of truth, so that children feel like when they are doing these drills with these ball machines, they can envision maybe it's a fire-breathing winged horse.
To keep them excited.
Yeah. They can envision Gus throwing fireballs at them. And even the plays, like when in the Wizard series, when the basket is opening up and shrinking, these are things that we experience as athletes. Like some days I feel like I can't make a shot, man, and the basket feels like the size of a keyhole. you know? And other days it looks like a swimming pool.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
magic. And so we root our magic in reality so that when kids experience these things, particularly the failure side of it, they can connect it to one of our stories and say, okay, I've seen this before. I know how to deal with this.
Yeah.
Kobe's coaching philosophy is probably the opposite of what most parents expect. Rather than shouting instructions from the sidelines, he chooses silence and the results are remarkable.
Like our job is to try to inspire the creativity inside of our children so that they can think through how to problem solve situations. So like, when I coach my daughter's team, it's not about giving them answers. It's about asking them questions and getting them to process things, right? When the game is being played, I'm not sitting there giving them answers or barking out things on the sideline. I sit down and I'm quiet. My assistant coach sits there and she's quiet. And the kids figure things out for themselves, or they don't. And then they come back and there's always questions. And then you kind of ask them more questions and you help them figure it out. But then you see their level of excitement to practice every day increase because it's a process that they are owning, right? They're not coming to get orders barked at them every day. They're coming for kind of their personal quest to get better.
Yeah. And how do your daughters feel about you coaching? I guess that style makes them feel comfortable, but how have you been able to manage that with the pressure of you being there?
No, it's no pressure because, it's their process to own. Like I have knowledge, information that I've gained, through playing. So like the little details of things I can teach at a high level. But ultimately it's them.
Yeah. You seem very still and detached about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's the kids love playing basketball. And so that's the anchor of it all. They come and they play and they learn and they have fun and, and they compete and, they challenge themselves and one another and, they just get better every day.
As the interview winds down, Kobe shares the bigger mission behind Granity and why every story, audiobook, and podcast is ultimately designed to bring parents and children closer together.
All the content you're creating here at Granity, is that for you to help build better bonds between parents and kids? Like, are you hoping that the podcast, for example, like kids are going to listen to it on the way to school or on the way back? Or like, how are you imagining people consuming the work?
Yeah, I imagine it in different ways, but like ultimately people always figure out a way to do it that's comfortable for them. But like, which is why in everything that we do, we try to create the highest quality of product. Right. Like, people will sit down and tell me, they'll say, okay, well, audiobooks, a very small percentage of people listen to audiobooks. We don't really have to invest too much in doing audiobooks. And what? Excuse me? No, because what if that one person just listens to audiobooks? That one family enjoys audiobooks. They have to get the best experience that I could possibly give them. So that means using a London orchestra. That means doing full symphonies. That means having Felicia Rashad read the stories. Like, it means everything. The books themselves. I got this all the time. There's no money in making books, man. Nobody makes money in books. And I'm sorry, you want to make a book with using what material? I'm like, I'm like, yeah, because children matter. So like, I don't know how they're going. I imagine how they're going to be consuming content. But ultimately, it's my responsibility and our responsibility as a studio to make every single thing that we put out the highest quality possible.
Yeah. No, I can imagine parents listening to it on the way to school. Yeah. I can imagine listening on the way back or on the way to practice.
Sure.
Or things like that. Sure. Like, I think it's cool.
Well, the Punies for sure. Like the Punies, I was like, when I first made the Punies, we're going to release it in the summer. I think we released it in August. I think it was August around the same time. But in my mind, I was saying, okay, parents are going to listen to this every Saturday morning because I know I'm in the car driving my kids to soccer games and like, volleyball games and stuff. So parents can listen to this with their kids in the car as they're driving to sporting events. Like that was kind of what I had in my mind. And then when it came out, it's like, teachers were using it more so than anybody in classrooms.